Hello everyone, my name's Eric, PDGA number 165457. This is my in the bag. First, what most people start off with is I have a Fierce. This is my go-to putter. It's very glidey, and my putting styles changed throughout the years, and every single time I still fall back to this putter. For a while it was like a very lofty like Anheuser putt. After that it was like more of a push putt on hyzer, and now it's back to like a flat spin putt. Once I get outside circle one into like 40 feet, 45 feet, I'll typically aim to the left of the center of pole, and it'll flip up a little bit and glide right towards the pole. Once I switched that putting style, my putting percentage in circle two went from basically 0 to roughly 25%, depending where I'm at in circle two. I also can make outside circle two putts occasionally because it's very glidey. I'll just go back to my old putting style and pop it up on a lot of hyzer. It'll flip up and then still fade slightly. I also bag this in a premium plastic for a throwing putter. This is not nearly as flippy, but it's very good for standstills or those shorter straight shots, 220 feet or so. And that way my putting putter doesn't get beat up. Next I have a Arowana. I play a lot in the winter and a lot of elevation courses, and this disc is great because it's not as glidey as the Fierce is. So I'm not gonna make as many putts, but the putts that I do miss are not gonna sit there and roll away or fly away. It's just tacos or falls. People always get confused when I make a putt with that because it's almost dead silent. Next I actually bag two different zones. I've had this ESP one for over 2 years now. It's now no longer a zone to me, so which is why I started bagging this one. It's very torque resistant still, but doesn't really have that super overstability that a zone typically does. So if I want that slight Anheuser release and just have it hold and flatten out slightly, then I'll go to this one. If I want to do that full flex shot, then I'll go to this one. This one doesn't go as far as this one does, but they both have that same about 200 feet up shot, perfectly for me. Next I will go with my mid-rangers. So we'll go understable to overstable. So we've got a speed. These numbers are a lie on this thing. It says -10. It's more like a -30 if I had to guess. But I like it because I can throw it flat, it'll flip up and just ride that line. Or conversely, I'll put on a huge ante and it'll slowly drift out. And the only thing you have to worry about with this is that you can get cut rollers if you put on too much Anheuser. It will never flatten out in time. And I can get this thing, it just depends on the throw, but I've gotten up to 60 pretty easily before. Next we have the Maria Oliva Anubis Mako 3, whatever you want to call it, Seablin Glow plastic. This is I think from 2-3 years ago at this point. It's been in my bag this whole time. This is a very, very straight flyer. At this point I do get a little bit of flip up from it and a little bit of fade, but those 260 shots, and I'm throwing down a tunnel, I'm throwing this every time. It's I actually have my course record at Blendon playing a one disc only disc round with this disc, and it's kind of weird too because I don't have any aces, even though I've played multiple one disc only rounds at Blendon, which is just a pitch and putt course. Next we have a Yarn. This is kind of an upgraded zone to me. It's definitely beefier. It goes about the same distance, given the same power and everything. I can put it against steeper high Anheisers out of my hand, and I can get a little bit more distance, but I just see this as an upgraded zone. It also does not skip as much because it's a little bit gummier as my ESP zone. Next, this is technically more understable than the other two, but it's also not. It's kind of a mid-range, but it's kind of a fairway. But that's the Stig. This thing flies. I can get this thing over 300 feet pretty consistently. it does have like quite a bit of understability. I'd almost say it's like a -3.1 instead of like a -2.1. But if I want like easy distance and the distance to finish right, like I don't care if I don't want to like finish like left, it's either straight or right, then a lot of times I'll go for this one. Next we got fairway drivers. I bag a lot of fairway drivers. I'm not a huge fan of the distance drivers, like the thickness of the rim. Ever since I switched forms, like the Anheuser angle gets a little iffy sometimes. I'm gonna go to my like most used to my least used in this category, which is kind of weird, but definitely my go-to is the Falk. This replaced my Aura Mantra a while back when I lost that and lost the second one, lost the third one. I can't find it anymore. But this thing, consistently over 300 feet. I've had 350-foot drives with it. 320 is like not uncommon like at all. This is like my go-to big bomber, and I love it. I have multiple of these like in slightly different plastics. They all fly like very similar and they feel great in the hand. This is definitely staying in my bag, and even if I like get like another Mantra, it'll be just, you know, to the same mold. Next is my Athena. At this point, my Athena is no longer like the O2 that it says. It's more like an O1. It's almost like my like old beat up ESP zone, where it's very torque resistant, but it still has that dependable fade at the end. I have 2 aces with this already, just because it's like this same shot shape where I'm throwing a little slightly nose up, dumping hyzer, and both of them are like, I think 245 from tee, but I'm throwing like a 260 foot type shot. But I love this thing. I have multiple of these in backups, but they don't fly as straight as this one does anymore. But it's something I definitely love that disc. Next, as far as using goes, is a Luft Xenon. This replaced my old flat top Raptor. Very similar flight, slightly less overstability than that flat top Raptor used to be. Still very, very beefy. Almost, it's even beefier than like some people's Captain's Raptors. But I love the feel of this thing. It's one of like the weirdest feeling discs I've ever felt in my life. Like where like it's almost got like negative flashing. It's like so smooth, like on like both like the outside edge and the inside edge. Very beef. 9304 is the flight numbers, and I'd say it's pretty accurate. This thing doesn't go far. If I want like something like in that 270 foot range, like for sidearm, I can't throw this. This goes about maybe 250 feet ish max, and that's like I'm like, you know, throwing on hand hyzer and having it still fly down. Next is my Stalker. I've had this in the bag for quite a while too. This is very similar to my Athena, but it flips up a little bit more. I mean, basically the same disc other than that. It feels a lot different like in the hand, just because there's like a thicker bead to it. And as far as distances, I think they're similar, but like I've never actually like went down to a field and tested them. But like if they feel similar. Next is the Lots. This is the other side of my Athena. This is a little bit more overstable. It says -1.2. I don't really get like any flip on this, but again, like that straight torque resistant flight, a little bit heavier of a fade at the end. Doesn't go quite as far as my Athena, but for that shot shape, you know, this is my go-to. Now we have 2 very understable discs I don't throw a lot. This is my new Mantra. This is in the, I think, Ethos plastic they call this. This thing is more understable than my old Aura Mantra, and if I want like a big, wide open bomber shot, this is like what I'm going for. It's got like a very, flips up a lot, just glides. Like there's very, 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 very little flight out at the end. I've gotten this thing over 350 before, but that's, again, like it's more uncontrollable. To points like where it's only like an open field shot, or like usually like if I want that same shot shape, I'm going with the sidearm instead, like that fading right and never coming back. Lastly, we have a Vortex. I don't really throw this very often. I almost see it as a utility disc because it, like I mentioned how understable that one is. This one's even more understable. I've released this thing on like 45-degree hyzers, and like it'll still go all the way and like land on a cut roller edge. What I use this for is just like those standstill, like powering down shots, like where I'm scrambling or stuff like that. Next, we have the distance drivers. These are constantly ever changing in my bag, except for the two that I'm going to show you first. Try the Synapse. This is like a grown-up version of my Xenon, my looped Xenon. Not quite as overstable, but it is higher speed, so it does have quite a bit of overstability too. And same thing, like 275-ish, which is like about my max for sidearm. I'll put this like on an anhyzer, and it'll fight out. And 275, you usually get quite a bit of skip too. This thing's pretty beat up, so like sometimes like I almost like over torque it like on the sidearm, and like it won't fight out. But I think that's more of a form thing than anything. Next we have a ESP Force. This is Tyler Horn's signature ESP Force. I've had this thing in the bag for like over a year now at this point, and it's got like a slight fade to it, or a slight flip up to it. So like -1 or 0.4 is probably inaccurate. It's probably more like a -1.3. I can get this to go further on sidearm, but it's a lot more touchy. This is like pushing that 280, 285, 290-ish. I've thrown a couple sidearms over 300 with this, but it's not very consistent. But yeah, this is kind of like a grown-up version of my Athena. It's like the way I look at this. If I want slightly more distance on the Athena shot, I'm typically going for this. It's a little bit more touchy though, such as distance drivers. Next we have two discs that are very similar, in my opinion, which is the Ethos Construct and the Page Pierce Drive. This disc like surprised me like a lot, like when I first started using it, because it wasn't the exact disc I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a lot flippier, like a Surge SS. It does get some flip, but it's very dumpy at the end, which is perfectly encapsulating what this is. Even this is like I think a -1.2. This is also like a little bit lighter weight. But yeah, I don't really use these as much, but like I have them in the bag because like I have uses for them. Next we have a Michigan Thrasher. This is kind of like the big boy version of the Falk. Gorgeous stamp on there too, little cotton candy blend. I like to throw this almost like dead flat, and I'll flip up, ride right, and still have a fade at the end. This thing, it's not, I can't throw it as far as like that Mantra, but it's a more dependable, like 320, 325, 330-ish, like that range. That's that guy. Next we have, and lastly, we have a Hades. I used to have like a Hades in the bag for like 2 years and lost it at Eagle's Nest. And that was like the most understable disc I had. Whereas like I would release it like literally like almost like vertical. It'd still flip up slight anhyzer and still fade back. This one's not there yet. It's definitely more understable than a Thrasher is, but I wanted to get to that point, which is like basically why I'm bagging it. I don't really throw this very often, but when I do, that's the shot I'm going for. Next is the bag. I'm using a Page Pierce bag. I was using a shoulder strap bag up until this, and kind of like fell in love with this design down here. Got the trees and like the basket like on the edge side. That's actually why I have my camera here. Because this hole used to have the basket like out on the edge side, and it instantly reminded me of this, which is like one of my favorite holes like in all of Ohio. This is the Elm Creek Disc Golf Course. This is like where I won my first tournament, like as a XC tier PHX fund. I shot, it was like 935 rated, which was like 80 points above my rating, 90 points above my rating at the time. And then went to Kinslow, which was like the more scoreable course, and I shot I think like -1, maybe -2, which is like not great, but it was like enough to keep me in the win. I really wanted to win this tournament back then, just because there was this like little trophy that's like a little yarn phoenix, and I have an obsession with Jean Grey Phoenix from X-Men, and I wanted it, and I was like too terrible like the first year I saw that trophy, and I'm like, I'm coming back next year, I'm gonna win this thing. True to my word, that was the first time I won. But yeah, This course also reminds me of a lot of like courses back like home in Michigan, like when I first started playing disc golf. Very wooded, but like defined lines, like where if you like miss that line, you're bringing in bogey like instantly. So very rewarding disc golf, but very challenging disc golf. Anyways, enough of a side tangent. Of course, I bring minis. I have an MVP mini signed by KJ. I didn't have any of his discs, and I didn't have any for sale like when I met him at D-Glow, but he's always been like one of my favorite MPO players. I have a backup mini because I'm always like leaving this in my pocket or like halfway down the course and running back for it. I always got towels. Typically what I do with my tournament winnings is just get more of these towels because I'm constantly like losing them and using them at home. So I think I probably bought like 20, I probably still have like 10 left maybe. It's not a very good like loss rate. Over here, I always carry Bushnell. I don't really use it too much at this point because I kind of have like those like sights like in my head, like a new course, or those distances in my head, those like new course. I also have more towels like in the side pocket, but typically in that side pocket, I'm more using that to pick up like trash in the course because I'm very much one of those people who believes, fill your bag on the outwards course. So throughout this video, you probably noticed that I have painted fingernails. The reason I have those is because I am protesting transphobia in the sport of disc golf. When I first started playing disc golf, it was basically me and my friends just hanging out in the woods. None of us were good at it, but we just like to enjoy nature and hang out. I kind of like fell out of the sport. Would play like once or two times a year up until about 2015, and then I started to try to better myself as far as being athletic and just a better peace of mind. And I found that disc golf, I would go out, hike a couple miles, throw a disc, and enjoy nature outside, sunlight, things of the sort. Around COVID time, I noticed like a shift of popularity and more so demographics of disc golf. And with that rise in popularity and change in demographics, I started seeing a lot of people who were like less accepting of others. And I want to preface this with saying like, you're allowed to cheer or like root against people in competitive sports. That's one of the purposes of competitive sports. You're allowed to debate the ethics and advantages a transgender person may or may not have in a competitive setting. What is not all right in any realm is using derogatory language, hate speech, including but not limited to misgendering, dead naming, whether intentionally or ironically, whether it's like their actual dead name or like a dead name that you, for whatever reason, like a masculine version of the name that they have chosen for their new name. These things are not right, and they should not be like allowed. Allowed's probably a bad word. Accepted is a better word. These things should not be accepted. My hope with me painting my nails is breaking down those like gender conformities that people have built like in their ideologies in their mind, and put a face towards and hopefully like a relationship with the people that they might not understand and therefore are saying hateful and derogatory things towards. I'm playing a tournament this weekend. This is the biggest tournament I play all year, the Brent Hamrick Memorial Open, amateur side. It's 4 rounds between Friday through Sunday, and while this is in Columbus, and Columbus is like a more open and accepting area, I will more than likely continue this trend throughout this year, playing courses like outside of Columbus in more rural parts of Ohio, which are not nearly as open-minded. any way you feel about it, you know, trans people are people. We don't hate on people for existing, even if we don't understand them. We don't, you know, insult people to their face or call them mentally ill, even if they, you know, it's just things that like became socially acceptable, and I don't think they should be, which is like why I am painting my nails in protest of transphobia in disc golf. This is something I feel very strongly about. I have a few transgender friends, and they have nothing but love in their heart. So when I see like the opposite side of that, for people who typically don't talk to, meet, interact with transgender people, they just have this preconceived notion in their mind. It hurts me. I don't like seeing like that hate in the world, and it's not like how I view disc golf and like why I fell in love with the sport. While I was at the course, I forgot to add that I have plans for future videos. Hopefully next week you'll see another video on this channel, basically about an idea I've had that I think would be very interesting and different than like anything I've seen like other disc golf YouTubers do. And I also have like plans for like a video just basically talking about my background as a disc golfer and everything. So I'm definitely going to be making more disc golf content. This channel is solely focused on disc golf and me as a disc golfer and basically my journey through disc golf. Thanks, bye.